Stafford supports Marriott Residence Inn building a new hotel in Greenwood Village. Well, he doesn't, but his signature sure does. Yesterday, it was the most popular hole in Colorado thanks to a teen who fell into it, prompting a rescue. So we went up there with the state today to see what happens to the abandoned mine shaft now. Denver police do not want you to fall victim to the latest scam. They came up with a way to explain that scam that reads like a soap opera script. So we gave it the Days of Our Lives treatment. And it's a sign that the lengths some Colorado parks have to go to get you to clean up after your pets may shock you. Next. Signatures, they are special to each and every one of us. They let people know, yes, that squiggly line confirms that I am indeed who I say I am. Though, as we've learned in the last year and a half, they can easily be forged to claim a political position. The latest case, someone's been forging signatures in Greenwood Village in an effort to get a new hotel built there. So we sent the best signature investigator in town to check it all out. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
A lot of these signatures shared certain characteristics and looked like they were written by the same person.
Tony Spafford's name is signed on this petition, indicating he supports a Marriott Residence Inn that's proposing to build a new hotel in this parking lot in Greenwood Village.
I was offended and, kind of outraged, actually. It was certainly something I had never signed.
These 3 pages with 29 signatures, meant to show support from nearby neighbors, were handed to the Greenwood Village Planning Commission at Tuesday's meeting, where it would be decided if the hotel project would be recommended to City Council. The signatures were not required and simply added to the pages of documents already submitted, showing environmental and architectural designs, as well as community opposition.
I was immediately shocked and angry and pretty appalled.
Jeff Kahn's name appears on line 17, something he didn't know until a keen-eyed commissioner noticed it at the meeting while she was questioning the person who provided the list.
So then you have no information as to explain line 17, Jeff Kahn signing this piece of paper, when in fact we are in receipt of a letter from him adamantly opposing this project February 13th of this year. Can you explain that at all?
I think you stand there stunned and not 100% sure what's happening.
Roger Sherman wasn't the one getting grilled, but his group was hired to do public outreach, including getting the signatures. Turns out they hired another company that had one guy go door to door, or so we think, because Jeff Kahn says he never met him.
If my signature is on record anywhere, I'd love to see it. I have my driver's license in my pocket. They can compare it.
If there's any record of me having supported this thing, it's a fraud and a forgery.
But wait. There's more. The commissioner at the meeting found another one when another resident stood up to oppose the project.
Mr. McCall, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you aware that your name and signature are also on this statement of support for the Marriott Residence Inn and line 21?
If indeed it's proven that these signatures have been falsified, I think they need to follow the law and prosecute the individual.
The Greenwood Village City Police Chief, former police chief, city manager, it's hard to write and talk at the same time. He found out about the forgeries Tuesday night, and they started an investigation right away. I found out that the guy who collected the signatures was fired today. He's collected signatures in the past, so I'm trying to find out when and where that happened. And Steve, you can be sure that Mitchell, if that's how you spell Mitchell, Zellinger, will be on the case.
Well, we trust Mitchell. We know Mitchell's got it. Thank you, Marshall. Appreciate it. Well, it has been a week since a Park County teenager disappeared, a week filled with questions about the status of the investigation into the death of Maggie Long. And now we've finally gotten some information, and it's only led to more questions. It seems Park County authorities mistakenly sent out an alert Thursday night describing a suspect and a vehicle, and suggesting that an AK-47, 2,000 rounds of ammunition, a pistol, and a safe were missing from Long's home. So they have a suspect, right? Not so fast. 9 wants to know, confirmed, that alert shouldn't have been widely shared because the description of that suspect and the vehicle were based on a sketchy tip. As for the guns and ammo, those things are apparently missing from the home. All of this in a case in which authorities first acknowledged that Long had been murdered 6 days after she reportedly went missing. A case in which they took the unusual step of obtaining a gag order before they'd filed charges against anyone. Well, we now have a better idea of what exactly this is. That is. There, I need to learn which side is which. The hole that proved Too tempting for a 15-year-old Golden High School student. He skipped class on Thursday, tried to climb down the abandoned clay mine with a couple of friends. When the clothing line he was using snapped, he fell about 60 feet. That prompted a 3-hour rescue that played out in front of the lens of the news chopper. The teen broke his leg pretty badly and might face charges for entering that closed area in the first place. So what happens to that hole now? Photojournalist Tom Cole and I hiked to the top of that hogback with the program director for the state's Reclaimed Mine Division today.
It's an old clay mine, a vertical feature within this old, probably 100-year-old clay mine. This is the spot where the kid was rescued yesterday.
And that is Jeff Graves, program director for Colorado DNR's Reclaimed Mine Safety Division. He'll tell you, even though what happened yesterday is uncommon, these things are all around us.
Most of the sections of hogback along the Front Range where you've got that uplift have a lot of these vertical clay stopes and clay mines in them.
In fact, someone had to be rescued from an old clay stope south of this hogback near Ken Carroll in July.
You can actually see the sections of clay that were mined. It's those banded sections along the wall there. And they would have removed that clay, and so that's why you have these large vertical openings.
In this case, Jeff says, it collapsed relatively recently, and the state didn't even know about it until what happened yesterday.
It's about 17 feet wide. And then about 15 feet across.
For now, they've put up signs warning people. Down the road, they'll likely put a metal grate over that hole like they have over another shaft that collapsed further down the hogback. Even though this area is technically closed to the public, people still hike here. You can see evidence of a trail. Graves just wants people to know how dangerous mines are, as tempting as they might look.
And they think they're going to find old relics. The miners didn't leave gold sitting out. They didn't leave all their tools out for people to take home. They cleaned it out. So they're just dangerous openings with lots of potential issues.
So the state estimates there are more than 20,000 abandoned mines. They've been able to shore up about 10,000 of them, but they need your eyes. So if you see something like that, report it to them. The Denver Police Department sent out an email today warning of a new type of scam. Now, normally we would not pay any attention to something like this because it seems like just about every other day there's some sort of scam popping up that police are warning about. But this one grabbed our attention, partially because the person who wrote the press release must want a second career as a screenwriter. They wrote it like a script. So we're going to break one of the biggest news writing rules out there, and we're just going to read their press release word for word. Scene: downtown Denver bar, dimly lit, crowded. While out with her friends, Jessica, which DPD is kind enough to point out is a fictitious name, keeps her phone in her purse. She soon realizes that her phone is missing. After several failed attempts to find it that night, Jessica calls her phone in the morning and is excited to hear someone answer. The person on the other end of the line says something like,
"Hey, your phone was turned into the bar you were at last night, and I'm the manager. Can you please give me your passcode so I can ensure this is your phone?"
Jessica, feeling elated that her phone is safe, thinks for a second that maybe she shouldn't give a stranger her code, but decides to provide it since he said he was the manager at the bar where she lost it. Jessica tells him the code to verify it's her phone, and now we cue the sad music. No. Sadder than that. Perfect. Jessica has just been scammed. Little does she know the person with her phone doesn't work at the bar, and he now has access to more than her personal information. Things like her photos and her Facebook account. First, the scammer quickly changes all of her passwords so she can no longer access it. Then he moves money via the apps that she uses to reimburse her friends, like Venmo, which are tied to her bank account. Now, not only is her phone truly gone, but so is her money. End scene. And end that sad music. Now, while we do kid, we have to give props to the Denver Police Department. Press releases about scams are boring, so they had to try something new to try to get people's attention. And we have to say it worked, at least for us. For ways to present this type of scam, head to the next Facebook page. Well, a little arrest cannot hold back State Representative Lori Sain. The American Legislative Exchange Council just awarded the Republican representative its Public Sector State Chair of the Year award. Sain was headed to Nashville to accept that award when she was arrested at DIA for having a loaded gun. Her attorney says she forgot she had the gun in her bag. She's facing a felony weapons charge, but was cleared to travel to Nashville yesterday so she could pick up that award. Well, when Denver made a pitch to Amazon for why the online retailer should bring its second headquarters here, it was said to be focused on the city's workforce and quality of life as a way to entice the company. well, it lacked the tax incentives the company was actually looking for. But that doesn't mean there aren't any to be had. Under Colorado's existing tax credit program, Amazon could see upwards of $458 million in tax credits in the first several years. That's a lot of money, like build your own professional sports stadium type of money. Pepsi Center, for example, cost a little more than $180 million to build in the late 90s. Adjusting for inflation, that would be about $270 million today. So Amazon could build another Pepsi Center and still have $188 million left over. If the company's second headquarters were to grow fast enough, the company's total tax credits from our state could top $860 million, enough to build 3 Pepsi centers with about $50 million left over. Not bad from a state not known for giving out big tax incentives.
I just couldn't fathom what happened that led me to this point.
4 years after moving to Colorado from Chicago, Donna Shelton was pregnant, jobless, and homeless. How one local shelter helped her get back on her feet. And Kyle tries out some of your home remedies in an effort to get his voice back. Did they work? Find out next.
Oh, what a gorgeous day. Nice to see that sunshine return. Temperatures warm up and the sunset, an absolute stunner. Look at that one. Leslie Jordan capturing this great shot from Holyoke, showcasing the pretty cool clouds that we saw throughout the afternoon. All right, let's cut to the chase. As far as the weekend goes, we stay in the 60s both Saturday and Sunday across the country. Most of the active weather is across the eastern seaboard into the upper Midwest. Around the west coast, high pressure builds in. This keeps us relatively dry and temperatures mild. Here across the Denver metro area, upper 50s, low 60s, the name of the game for your Saturday. Even up in the mountains, will be in the 30s and 40s for your Saturday afternoon. Temperatures warming a couple of degrees on Sunday. Slight cool off, some gustier winds on Monday, and then we continue to be above average for most of next week. Steve?
We just need some snow, Danielle. Thank you.
Desperately.
A few weeks ago, we reported on homeless shelters in the city of Denver. We got some feedback saying that not all the shelters have problems. Tonight we met Donna Shelton, who at one time was homeless but found help in the Champa House. While she never slept on the street, she says what she experienced was very similar.
It was time for a change. Chicago is a beautiful city, but I was not prospering there. It was the drop of a pin on a map. Wherever it landed, that's where I was going to go. And it landed on Colorado. I just couldn't fathom what happened that led me to this point. And it also had me asking questions about, you know, my value, my self-respect. I was questioning everything about myself at that point because I didn't plan this. I didn't plan to be homeless. I didn't plan not to have the resources I need to provide for my child. It made a significant difference staying at Champa House and having the time to work on myself and figure out where I went wrong. Looking back to where I was coming into the program versus now, there's been a tremendous change because of my value for myself. When you're looking at someone sleeping on the street versus sleeping in a shelter, they're still experiencing the same thing, just in a different location. I can't say that I've always been proud of myself. And now I'm very proud of myself.
For nearly 3 decades, Champa House has been helping women like Donna Shelton. The Denver Rescue Mission announced this week it is closing Champa House, as well as the Glencoe shelter. They will both close next month. It's a sign that dog owners are shocked that they have to pick up after their dogs at this Eagle County park. And Broncos insider Mike Klis has been covering the Broncos for 13 seasons. They've been really good for most of that time. So what's it like covering the team when they're this bad? Hate to break it to you, but the Broncos are bad. That opinion becomes fact when you lose 8 games in a row. It's a season that football fans in this town have not experienced in quite a while. Denver's used to winning football teams. So are the dedicated beat reporters who cover the Broncos year-round, like our own 9 News Broncos insider Mike Klis. So we asked him what it's like to cover a team when it's as bad as the Broncos are this year.
Well, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you try to find perspective. One, I haven't lost 8 games in a row. The team I cover has. The other thing is you people at Next cover tragedies and much somber stories than I cover. I'm still covering sports, whether it's winning or losing a game. You try to keep that perspective. Those are a couple things there. But as far as just covering a losing team like this that's really in the dumps versus a winning team like the Broncos have been in recent years, it is a drag. You know, you try to find things that are interesting, and really, like the game this week against the Jets, there's not a whole lot of issues there that people care about. What people care about is the bigger picture. What's John Elway going to do to correct this? You know, is Vance Joseph on the hot seat? He is, but he may come back if he wins a couple games. What are they going to do at quarterback? How do you fix this? That's where you would turn your attention. There's actually more news in bad seasons than there is good seasons. Bad seasons, a lot of things changes. Personnel changes, coaching staff changes, roster changes. So it keeps you busier. But it's not quite as fun as covering a winning team. You go into the locker room, you got to be quieter, maybe tiptoe a little bit, be a little more sensitive in how you address your questions. But still, at the end of the day, it's still sports.
And the interviews in the locker room sure are interesting nowadays. Kyle's been a little under the weather this week. His voice is gone. We miss hearing him. So does his Alexa, I assume. And you all have been very supportive of Kyle's ailment, offering advice of how to get his voice back. Here's proof that he's been taking your advice. Everything from complete silence to oil of oregano to singer's throat spray. Sorry to say, he says so far nothing has worked. He'll keep trying your suggestions, and we'll find out soon if any of them actually worked. Well, it is a sign that an Eagle County park has become pretty popular with dog lovers who sometimes need a good-humored reminder to clean up after their four-legged friends. Next. It's a sign that the Crown Mountain Parks and Recreation District wants you to clean up after your dog, and they have a great sense of humor, too. Steve sent us this sign that reads, "Danger, electrified grass activated by dog poop." He says he saw it while at Crown Mountain Park in El Jebel. We, of course, are super mature here at Next, so after we stopped laughing at that sign, we set out to learn the story behind it. We talked to the folks over at Crown Mountain Parks and Rec, Nate and Rebecca, and they said they decided to put up the sign a few years ago as a way to remind dog owners to clean up after their pets. People have asked them before if their dogs really could get electrocuted. People have actually asked that question. They assure us that it's all in good fun, and the grass will not electrocute anyone or anything. They also sent us a few more of their cool signs, including one of a dog having to clean up after itself. They say the park gets between 60 to 80,000 dog visits every year. Last year, they went through 97,000 dog poop bags. This year, they've gone through 144,000. So the signs must be working now that they've revealed that their signs aren't actually serious. We ask that you pick up after your dog for Nate and Rebecca's sake, at least. So we end on your good news like we always do. Teresa Perry says, "I drove home last night from work, not bothered at all by the traffic because I looked at all the beautiful holiday decorations while listening to traditional Christmas songs from the 40s and 60s on my radio and still smiling." Find a reason to smile out there. Jim Simonton got a bonus. We'll see you next time.